Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 389th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we've got Dov Gordon, all the way from Israel. He is the sales alchemist, the entrepreneurial alchemist, really good dude, well-connected. I was on his podcast recently, part of an online mastermind group. The guy is very well-connected, very smart. And we get down into the brass tacks, as always, on, what does it mean to be an alchemist, right? What do you do? Because as entrepreneurs, as salespeople, that's what we do. We turn ideas into money. We turn ideas into products. We help people solve problems they didn't think they could solve. So it's... You're in for a treat. I liked having him on, and I'm glad to be connected to him. It's one of the perks of doing this podcast is meeting cool people and forming relationships with them that will pay dividends for a long time. Number 388 was Donald Kelly, the sales evangelist. That was a repeat guest. I had him on a couple years ago. Great story about how he built his sales training and consulting business, how he did it on the side. He went back into corporate America before he was able to be on his own full-time. And I talk about how I had to do that as well a couple times. Having a big family, I didn't want them to suffer, right, while I was trying to figure things out. So I get into my story a little bit, the bouncing back and forth. So you're in for a treat with that interview as well. 390 is Pam Perry, a PR specialist. I'm going to be, if you probably noticed, I'm off a little bit here. Just been busy. I was in talks with a sponsor, potential sponsor, because my other one, that 90-day contract had run out. Another one had reached out to me. We've been talking about it, researching the angles, the avenue. They may come on, so I'm pre-recording these as always. So I'm going to do 3 right now to kind of catch up. That'll bring us into early August, and we'll see if they're on board or not. But so I'm going to do 3 rapid fire here. We've been off for well over a week, actually. So you're going to get 3 back to back. So I hope you get a lot out of this, even though it's a lot of content coming at you. Be sure to visit the website, get the show notes. You can see the videos of the interviews as well. If you have questions, we've got the free group, theimplementors.com. That takes you to the Facebook group. You can ask questions. I've got my 30-day sales growth group as well. That is not free, but it is super affordable. Come join us. I did some updates just this past week, adding content on how to handle gatekeepers, how to befriend the receptionist, the executive assistant. You don't talk to them the same, okay? But you also don't talk down to them. You talk to these people differently. Sometimes you talk to them as if they were the boss. The nuances are important, and that was the latest update in the group as part of the paid membership. So head on over there if you want to grow quickly and you want to have me answer your questions as we go. 30daysalesgrowth.com. Check that out. And now let's bring on our guest. Dov Gordon, the alchemist entrepreneur, all the way from Israel. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
Great, Wes. Good to meet you. Good to talk to you.
So what is this alchemist entrepreneur, man? Are you turning lead into gold? Or are you saying that entrepreneurs are dense like lead and need your help? Is that what you're saying?
You only you latched on to half of that, right? Need my help. Well, actually, I mean, have you ever read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho?
Sure.
Yeah, so you and me and, I don't know, tens of millions of others. So I picked up something in that book that I don't know if anybody else picked up on. Because before reading that book, I would imagine that the alchemists of old were these grungy old men, greedy, hunched over a frying pan trying to hit on the perfect recipe for turning lead into gold. But, then after reading that, I started thinking about it, and I realized that they probably weren't that dumb, and they probably weren't that greedy. They're probably thinking that if they could get to the underlying structure of the lead, then they could leverage it and turn it into something more valuable, into gold. I imagine that was on some level, that's what they were aiming for. And it occurred to me that as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we're so often through life, we're just, all of us, we're skidding across the surface. But if we could learn to get to the underlying structure of whatever situation we're in, then we can turn that lead into gold. And as business owners, that's really what we're trying to do. All the time, we have an opportunity of leveraging the underlying structure of our situation and turning it into something more valuable. Unfortunately, most of the time, we're skidding across the surface. We're missing the depth, the nuance. We're not recognizing the critical 10% of things that give us 90% of what we want. And when we learn how to do that, then we can, turn lead into gold for real. At least in terms of value.
You mean I need to go deeper than the headline on a BuzzFeed article?
What's BuzzFeed?
It's an interesting pseudo journalism website.
I'm kidding. I think I've been there twice. If I was interested in doing anything that worked just because it would work, I would probably study their headline style and use it to some degree.
Right.
But I can't stomach it. It doesn't talk to me.
Right.
I might, I understand the draw to some degree, and I probably spend too much time on Twitter, but exactly. There's a lot more than that.
Is this a new thing? Entrepreneurs, business owners skimming, or is it a human nature thing? And now it's just easier to skim because of the internet.
I don't think it's a new thing at all. I just think that the same tools that provide us incredible leverage also provide us incredible distraction. And just like, I have a book on time management from the 1970s, and I wish I could remember the precise quote, but if you're reading that book, it could have been written in 2019, except that, about how busy and distracted people are in the 1970s. And think about it today. So I don't exactly what it was that they were getting busy and distracted by. But I do tend to believe that the social media on call in our pockets all the time is doing something to our brains and reducing attention spans. I believe there's truth to that. So maybe it is worse, but fundamentally, we are, human nature is human nature, and it has always been. And I think that there is a challenge or an opportunity for us to grow. And, as Jim Rohn always used to say, work harder on yourself. How did he say? He said that you could work harder on yourself than you do on your business. That was one of his quotes. But he said, if you work hard on your business, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you'll have a great life. Or it was even better than that.
Right.
So the irony is there are 3 roles that I live that force me, or rather give me the opportunity to grow every single day in different ways. As a husband, as a father, and as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. Each one challenges you in a different way. And you've got 7 kids. I've got 6 kids. I think we know that every kid challenges you in a different way. Gives you a chance to grow in a different way. So I see business as we have got to constantly be getting better. Because as my focus happens to be on helping consultants get ideal clients consistently. And you'd think that if you're good at something, people would want to hire you to help them, but it's not true because it's not enough. So we have to earn the right to lead. Consulting is leadership, sales is leadership, coaching is leadership. But you have to earn the right to lead. You have to earn the right to lead the kinds of people you actually would want to serve. And that's what it's all about. You do that by consistently looking and saying, okay, what am I doing automatically? Where am I getting distracted? What are the few things that I really need to be focusing on to get to where I want to go? Where do I want to go? And I mean, we can go in any of these directions.
Right. Do you think that's the problem, that stifles most entrepreneurs. It's just no vision, no goals. I mean, they're just, and that keeps them at the surface. They're afraid to go deep.
I think there are three things that we need to keep in mind at any given time. And that is, we need to have a clear idea where we're headed. You got to have a kind of a movie of that plays. We need to have, now the second thing is we need to be able to see how I am as a person to naturally fit into that film, to that movie. Because if you had a film that takes place in 2019 and you had Elvis Presley in there, it wouldn't fit. Same thing if there was a film of your life, your business a year from now, 5 years from now, and the current version of you was in that film, it wouldn't fit. Can't be. Doesn't fit. So you've got to see, the second thing is, what is that? How do you need to be as a person to naturally cause the results that you're causing in that future version of yourself, that future picture? And number three is, what is the next small step? And the trick is taking the next small step the way the future version of you would take it, not the way the current version of you would take it. And that's the challenge. So I think we get stuck on a number of different levels there. Number one, even if we've done the work to clarify, what do I want? Why do I want it? Which is, you'd think it was the easiest question in the world for a human being to answer, but it's probably one of the hardest questions for most people to answer is, what do I want and why do I want it? So even when we get that clear, we then tend to default back into all the things we're worried about. So we have to get to the point where the change we want gets clearer than the path that we're on. But for most people, the path that we're on is what gets all of our thoughts and attention. So we've got to really put time and thought into, that future vision. What does that look like? And how does that feel like? And that has to become the way I'm operating right now with whatever is facing me. So, you get a cancellation notice from a client or from somebody and what is the old you? How does the old you react to that? And how does the ultimate version of you react to that? Right? It's an objective fact. This is what happened. But how you interpret it, the thoughts that you associate with it, that determines who you are. That determines how you feel. That determines what you then do. And so I think we get ourselves tripped up in all those different areas.
Yeah, for sure. So you bring up something. So what is the next small step? What is the future? The next small step, the way the future version of you would take it.
The ultimate you, yeah.
How do I know what the future me is?
So, I think if we stop and kind of visualize this picture that I want to create, right? And it's hard work at first if it's something that we've fallen out of practice of doing. And then you just really watch yourself in certain various challenging situations. And you can start to see how that future version of you behaves differently than the current or the old version of you, as I prefer to call it. The old version of you would behave, would react, would think, would feel. And then it's like, okay, practice that right now. Like, just for example, like if somebody, right before this call, somebody canceled a meeting that I have after this call or an hour later. And, old version of me would be disappointed, would think, oh man, and explain, think about why that's not good, what that means. And, oh, that means this, that, and that. The future version of me says, hey, look, I'd love to understand why before I react. If it's something I could do something about, great. If not, next, move on. Becoming conscious of certain key areas. Well, another way of working about it is looking at where you are today and recognizing areas where you do get yourself tripped up. You do step in your own feet, get in your own way, and saying, okay, now I'm not reacting in a way that makes sense for the long term. So you can spot the fact that, I got this cancellation from somebody I thought might be a client. And I noticed that it's having an effect on me. It's affecting how I feel. And you can right away spot that, okay, my thinking on that must be off. If it's affecting how I feel, my thinking must be off. How would the ultimate version of me think about this? How would the ultimate version of me feel about this? How would the ultimate version of me act on this? Because One of the biggest mistakes that we tend to make, and again, my audience generally is consultants, experts, coaches who are really good at what they do, but they don't have the consistent flow, predictable flow of clients that they want. And you could how part of what we need to do is part of the mistake that we all tend to make in that situation is we tend to think that if I hit a wall, I must not know enough. So we bounce off the wall, we go off and we think, I don't know enough. We go off for another book, another course, another whatever. But the truth is, at least the way I see it, is that in all likelihood, you do know enough. We all know enough to keep moving, for the most part. We need to more deeply understand the things that we already know. We need to more deeply understand the things we already know. And what that really means is you need to learn you need to change or evolve or grow in 3 areas: how you think, how you feel, and how you work. So it's not about more and more, I must not know enough, I need to take another course, another book, and so on. I need a series of architected experiences that are going to help me elevate how I think, elevate how I feel, and elevate how I work. And if you can get those architected experiences, then you start to more deeply understand things you already know. So let's say in the case of a consultant who's looking to get more clients, right? You get some advice, you listen to a podcast or read a book, take a course, and then you think, that's a good idea. You go out and you start working on it. You make some progress, and then you hit a wall. So right away you find yourself lost or ensnared in the grasp of what I call the 3 doubts. The first one is, am I doing the right thing? And then, am I doing it right? And why isn't it working for me? Will it ever work for me? And you hit that wall and you have those 3 doubts. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing it right? Will it ever work for me? And then we tend to think, well, I must not be doing it right. I must not know enough, right? So we go bounce off, run off in another direction, looking for another book and so on. And like the Roomba vacuum cleaner, we end up, just bouncing off from part of the room to another part of the room, never breaking through the wall. What we need is someone to look at what you're doing. And when you're making some progress and you hit the wall, they look at what you're doing and you start to wonder, am I doing the right thing? And they look at what you're doing and they say, well, this part is right, this part fix this, that. Yeah, good, now you're doing the right thing. Hit the wall, take a chip out of it. Hit the wall, take a chip out of it. And then you make some more progress, and then suddenly you hit something and you're not making progress anymore. And then you start to wonder, am I doing it right? And they look at what you're doing and they say, well, this you're doing right. This tweak, got to get around over here. This type of thing happens. Go around this way. Okay, good. And then you make some more progress. Hit the wall, take a chip out of it. Hit the wall, take a chip out of it. And then, again, you get stuck. You hit, it's not working anymore. You're not getting anywhere. And they look over your shoulder, your mentor, your coach, whatever, and they say, you're doing the right thing. You're doing it right. Now just keep hitting the wall, take a chip out of it, hit the wall. And you keep doing it because now you have the clarity and the confidence and you keep hitting that wall until one day you hit the wall and the wall crumbles. And then you step through and you're looking up and the dust is settling all around you and on you. And now you suddenly understand all that information that you've been taught. Nobody could teach it to you. In order to get to that place we want to be, that future version, there are things that we all need to learn, whatever it is for us. Everybody has to learn something. But for the most part, there are aspects of it that we could learn from others. But the most important aspects, nobody could teach it to you. What we could do is lead you to learn it for yourself, lead you through a series of architected experiences so you come to understand it, and then you can live it. And then the wall crumbles, you have that breakthrough experience, and then suddenly you understand it in a way that nobody could have taught it to you. And then you're really patting yourself on the back, feeling good. And then you look up and you see there's another wall, and it's taller and it's thicker. And that's the next one you've got to conquer. And that's life. That's life. That's you've got to grow and become a bigger, stronger person, competitor, whatever it might be. And that's I guess part of how we think about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ryan Holiday, he wrote that book, The Obstacle is the Way,
Yep.
big guy on stoicism. And it's, I like the way you put it because the obstacle is the way. When we hit a wall, and we're going to hit a wall, it doesn't mean it's a dead end. Maybe it means we just got to lower our shoulder and push harder. right? It's interesting. I went to my first big jiu-jitsu tournament this weekend, and talking with a buddy of mine that I drove out with that competed, and we're talking about different aspects of the game. And, it's like, man, 2.5 years. I feel like I'm terrible at this one key aspect. And he said, yeah, it took me 6 years, so I was like simultaneously elated and dejected, right? It's like,
Yeah.
all right, so I guess I'm normal, but damn, I got 3.5 more years to go just to master that one aspect. And I mean, without a good team, without a great coach, right, leading this thing, I would have quit a long time ago. That's why so many people quit, because it's so slow and methodical and grueling, and you're sore and hurt. And I mean, but it's just like business. You need somebody to, on the outside looking in, like, I think I'm doing this thing right? Like our instructor today, he'll teach something and he'll teach it for 5 minutes and we'll immediately go do it, and we'll immediately do it wrong. It's like, we just watched him, because there's nothing like doing it. You can read about a webinar and how to do social media right, and how to write great video landing pages, and until you do it. But we all think it's just easy, huh? Or, oh yeah, I'll just take a course and I'm going to be a millionaire.
Every now and then I get an email from somebody or about this, asking me some question. I ask them some question back. And like, I remember somebody was like, oh yes, she was going to be helping drive leads for, I forgot, like dentist or something. She's going to use just pay-per-click on Facebook, and asked me a question, maybe through Facebook Messenger. And I think I asked her, I said, like, do you have any results? Like, have you ever done this before? It's like, no, but I bought this course. And after I get a client, I'm going to go through the course. And I said, look, don't take this the wrong way, but it's not as easy as you seem to imagine it is. If I were you, I would start generating leads for people, perhaps on a performance basis, so that you're possibly getting paid to build your skills. But if you think that you're competing with sharks, and you don't even know what game you're in. I said it nicely. Every now and then I get messages like that. It's kind of remarkable. Now, that sounds like she's a little bit nuts and a little bit off, but every single one of us are guilty of the same thinking to some degree. On some level, most of us imagine that whatever we're aiming to tackle, it's going to be easier than we think. We imagine it will be easier than it's going to turn out to be. I don't know why we're wired that way, but we're wired to imagine that things will be easier. And, have you ever read The Road Less Traveled, M. Scott Peck?
Sure.
So that's a book I read the first part, I think twice, like the first 60 or so pages. I couldn't make it past that, but the first 60 or so pages are really like a work of art, really well done. And the opening of that book is life is difficult. And the first 2 paragraphs, so it makes the point, life is difficult. And the sooner you accept that as a truth, the sooner things become easier. And I was thinking about that. Like, why is it? Like, it's the kind of thing like you hear it and you nod your head, yeah, that makes sense. But sometime later I went back to try to understand it. Like, why does it make it easier? I don't want to just nod my head to things. I want to understand them. And that's also the way we approach the marketing and the sales. We want to help our clients understand things so that they're not just mimicking, not just copying, but actually learning the thinking and the skills. And I realized that, okay, as long as we don't deeply understand the fact that life is difficult, so on some level we're expecting life is easy. And as long as we're expecting life is easy, we're not going to be willing to do the things that we really need to do to get where we want to go. But as soon as you accept the fact and actually internalize it, not just pay lip service to it, not just nod your head and say, yeah, life is difficult. And he makes that point right down that first page. But as soon as you deeply understand it, really internalize it, yes, life is difficult. Well, okay, then now you realize what game you're in. Now you realize that it's going to be hard, and I still want to go after this, whatever this is. So that is going to require me to do things that previously I wouldn't have been willing to do. And now that I'm willing to do those things, suddenly it becomes easier, because before I wasn't willing to do the things I need to do. Now I'm willing to do the things I need to do, and that makes it easier. So, like people are not willing to get the coaching, the consulting that they know they need. well, it's going to continue to be hard, and they're going to continue to misdiagnose why it's hard. They're going to continue to think it's because I don't know enough, or I don't have the right personality, or I don't have this, or I don't have that, and everybody else does. And no, the answer is that everybody has certain advantages, and everybody has plenty of disadvantages. Nobody has nobody has everything lined up for them just perfectly except for you, right? And when we understand that, and then we're willing to get the help that we need, or whatever it might be that we're otherwise not willing to do, that's when things start to change for us, because we're finally taking it seriously, I suppose.
Yeah, everybody wants to be on a pedestal, but nobody wants to work hard to be worthy of that unique award. Huh.
Yep.
It's like, what?
And I think a lot of our clients also, like what I think is true for them is we're willing to work hard. We just want to know that we're working hard on the right thing. We want to know that we're working hard on the few things that are actually going to move me forward. And there's, that's really what we're looking to do, is they really like help you understand, like, what is the shortest path to your ideal clients consistently, right? And, so those are the kind of people that I guess I feel like I really could work with, is people who are willing to work hard. They just want to know that, like, help me understand it. Why should I do this? There are a lot of people who are very happy to just mimic. Some guru says, do this, just follow my 5-point blue, get clients blueprint, and then you too will have 3 homes and Lamborghini, and you can be working 4 hours a week from the beach. That's not the way it works for most people, right? Some people are happy to just mimic. That's where I was going with this. Some people are happy to just mimic, but then there are other people like me, and maybe like you, where we seem to be wired in such a way that we have too much pride in ourselves, and that's a bit of a problem. But we need to understand. I don't understand things, and I want to make it mine. I don't want to just copy somebody else's formula. And when you need to understand something, you want to market in a way that feels, that feels just real to you. I'm purposely avoiding using the word authentic. Because there are too many people talking about authenticity in a very inauthentic way.
Should I be transparent about my authenticity? And should I be vulnerable?
And how about honest? Just be honest about it. So there's well done. So there's this. You have to. We want to be able to be ourselves. We want to be hired by our ideal clients because they recognize who we are. Not because I played somebody else's game and fooled people into thinking that I am like that. And it's finding your own voice. It's becoming comfortable with your own voice. It's building up because of your own voice, and that's what people want. And in order to get to that point, it's not enough to just mimic somebody's success blueprint. You have to understand the thinking behind it. And I'll give you an example, and maybe we could wrap up with that, because I know that we're running short on time. But that's you keep me online here. But here's the thing, and if you ask someone, what's the purpose of your marketing and selling system, your marketing funnel? So most people will tell you it's to fill your pipeline, it's to get leads, it's to close deals. And then we nod our heads when we're told life is difficult. Yeah, I got that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And then we say, well, what should I do now? And then suddenly we've got advice from everywhere. Well, you need to write a book, or you need a new brand, or you need a new website. You rebrand a new website. You start a podcast. Just do webinars, joint ventures, Facebook ad funnel, automated evergreen, and so on. And they're all great ideas, and every one of these tactics could work, and every one of these tactics could fail. The thing is that so the better question to ask, and this is what we teach, is the better question to ask, rather than what should I do, is, well, if all these tactics could work and all of them could fail, when it works, why does it work? And when it fails, why does it fail? Because if you can understand that, then you don't need to do all those things and be overwhelmed and distracted. All you need to do is put in place the minimum, what we call the shortest path to your ideal clients consistently. And if you can work that minimum on a day in, day out basis, you'll have leads and clients coming to you all the time. So then I want to propose that the purpose of your marketing funnel, the purpose of your marketing and selling system is really this. It's to answer the only 3 questions that ever cross your ideal client's mind in order, right? In order to go from total stranger to where they're happy to pay you to work with them, your ideal client needs you to help them answer yes, yes, and yes to these 3 questions. The first question that comes into their mind, whether they realize it or not, is, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? It doesn't matter if they hear you on a podcast, if it's your podcast, if you're a guest on a podcast like we're having here. It doesn't matter if they see an article about you, if it's a webinar promoted by a joint venture partner, a Facebook post or an ad, LinkedIn. It doesn't matter. Every tactic can work. Instagram. The first question that we're all asking automatically is, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? Now, if your marketing leads your ideal client to conclude, yes, I should pay attention. Yes, it is interesting. Then, and only then, do you have a second question? And then their second question is, okay, you got me interested, but who are you? Can I trust you? The second job of your marketing is to lead them to conclude, yes, I can trust you. Yes, you actually seem to know your stuff. Yes, you're talking about this in a way that I never heard anyone else talk about it before. And you seem to care, not just try to sell me something. Instantly, they have a third question, which is, okay, you got me interested. I see I can trust you. Third question, is what you recommend right for me? Is what you recommend right for me? And the final job is to lead them to conclude that, yes, what you recommend is right for me. And then congratulations, you have a new client. So now, again, I want to say that the purpose of your marketing funnel and marketing and selling system is to lead your ideal client to help them answer yes, yes, and yes to the only 3 questions. Oh, okay. Whereas before, I had this vague idea that my marketing funnel is to fill my pipeline, to get leads and so on, and I didn't really know what to do next. And then I fall into this information overwhelm, where, shiny objects, trying to do way too many things. Now I know I need to put one thing in place to help them answer yes to the first question, one thing in place to help them answer yes to the second question, and one thing in place to help them answer yes to the third question. And if I do that, I have a simple, repeatable marketing and selling funnel. Now, it is simple. It's not always so easy, right? And then there's the working it and the tweaking it and so on. And I don't lie and pretend that everything's easy, but if we can just keep it simple, then it becomes something that you can master over time, as opposed to something that, you hit the wall, you bounce off, you go in another direction, try something else, start over every few weeks or every few months with something else. And that's a big killer. And, when you have valuable expertise and you feel drawn to build a business by contributing to others, to their businesses, to their lives in one way or another through your expertise, you just do not want to be the one who hits the wall, bounces off, hits the desk chair, bounces off, and the bookshelf and so on. You really need to quickly get to a point where you've got the very few things that, if they add up, if you put them in place, it creates that consistent flow of great clients. And so that's an example of understanding the thinking. It's not complicated, but it's simple. But almost no one ever gets there. And that's the same idea. Like, if you're skidding across the surface, you're never going to get to the point where you understand this. But when you understand skidding across the surface would be, I need a marketing funnel because that will help me get leads. And thinking, nodding my head, thinking I understand what I'm trying to do. Right? Mm. When you understand the underlying structure, that enables you to leverage it. That's where the alchemy comes in. The alchemist entrepreneur. When you understand that my job is really to lead them to answer yes to 3 questions, and suddenly it's like, okay, wow, that may not be everything I need. Now I need to look at them. Okay, what can I do for 1, 2, and 3? You still may need some help. We all do. But at least now it's making sense. At least now I understand that I don't have to do all things. I understand that asking what should I do is not as good a question as asking, well, what am I trying to accomplish over here? And I'm trying to help them answer 3 questions. And I can go on, but yeah.
All right.
Was that clear?
Yeah, I like it. I think it was Mary Kay, that says the 3 questions are basically like, is it easy? Does it work? Can I do it?
Okay.
Right. So it's the same concept. That's what everybody has to answer. So cool, man. Well, I do have to wrap this up in just a minute. Got another guest coming on, but you created a free resource for our listeners, right?
Well, we actually have something that explains all this in greater depth, and I sold it for $97 for 5 years. So I call it my manual. It's called How to Systematically and Consistently Attract First-Rate Clients. Like I said, I did not create this to give away, so it is a good catch. You can get a copy for free today at dovegordon.net/sales podcast in honor of the sales podcast. So that's dovegordon.net, dovegordon.net/sales podcast. And I hope you'll get a copy and email me. And like I do, I get emails all the time from people saying they printed it out, and the guys like I mark it up in between sales calls or meetings at a coffee shop. I've got it printed out. It's on the passenger seat in my car, and I love hearing that. And honestly, you might wonder why am I giving it away? I'm giving it away just because the fact is that from that, sometimes people come and say, "Hey, Dove, that was really good, but I can definitely see the value in getting some help with that." And so it's win-win all around that way.
Yeah, cool. And it's Dove with no E, dovegordon.net/sales podcast. And we will link to that, of course, in the notes. So, well, man, I'm glad we connected. Thanks for coming on the show.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great day. We need to go deeper. Stop skimming the surface. Stop allowing yourself to be so easily distracted. Work hard at your job and you can make a living. Work hard on yourself and you can make a fortune. Good old Jim Rohn there. I am laying the foundation to make some changes to this podcast along those lines of going deeper. I've got agreements with some folks that will take these episodes through early September, and then I'll let you know what's happening next. If all goes as planned, I think you'll like it. It will help me go deeper. It'll help me work on myself, not only to make a fortune, but just to work on myself, as we all should be doing. But as we talked about there today, entrepreneurs are leaders, but we have to earn the right to lead. What is your vision? How do you fit in that role? I'm actually mapping some things out for my own business and bringing in employees. And as part of that, I may not even be the CEO. I know where my strengths and weaknesses are. I know I don't like managing people. I know I don't like the mundane ins and outs, the details of running a business, payroll and accounting, managing people. I don't like any of that. So, I apply the same things you hear me talking about to myself. And usually I apply them to myself first, kind of the crash test dummy of sales and marketing. So go back and listen to this. A lot of good info in there. You get an idea and you move forward. You're asking yourself questions. You're questioning yourself, right? What are you doing to continue moving forward? Go back and re-listen to that. If you have questions, hit me up in theimplementors.com. If you want more of my attention, more of my personal help, join the club, 30daysalesgrowth.com. All right, I will answer your questions and make sure you are growing to the best of your ability. You will get access to me in that group. So come join us, all right? Please leave a 5-star review for the podcast. If you're interested in software, if you have the right software, if you're using it the right way, if you need to change, check out my free webinar. I'm doing that pretty much weekly. You can go to thesaleswhisperer.com/webinar to register. And it's not salesy. The call to action at the end is just to set a time to talk with me if you like what you heard and if you think there's a need to talk. So it's about 45 minutes at most, but I go over how to fix your follow-up failure. So tune into that as well, okay? Happy to help, happy to have you on board, happy to take your questions so you can grow. Now go sell something.